All right, fine. Yeah, so the Hard Rock Cafe was opened in 1971. It now has 129 restaurants in over 40 countries, right? In that restaurant, basically, it has rock music memorabilia. Rock music is popular in the States. So it has guitars, it has, you might see Elvis, that kind of stuff. Elvis memorabilia, drums, that kind of thing in the restaurant. It creates value in the form of good food and entertainment. So you might have entertainment going on. It plays all loud music and all of that. Sort of like TGIF, right? You guys know TGIF? Yeah?
No.
Well, there's a TGIF down the road from UTEC at Lady Musgrave and Hope Road, right? Yeah, so it's the same type of situation. When you go in there, you'll remember me telling you this then. It has some 3,500 custom meals per day. That's what it produces. 3,500 custom meals per day in Orlando. This is just Orlando alone we're talking about, right? And so we're gonna look at how a meal, our item gets on a menu and the role of the operations manager, right? So what is operations management? Operations management is the production, is where production is created. And we can talk about production in terms of goods and as well as services, right? So production is the creation of goods and services. I would say goods is anything that's tangible, and service is a service that you provide for your customers. So operations management is the set of activities that create value, right, in the form of those goods and services by transforming inputs into outputs. So that's what operations management is, right? You're transforming inputs into output, right? And all the activity that goes on there is operations management. So essential functions in any organization, any company, is marketing, right? And this is where you're generating your demand because you put out your ads, your PR, your marketing campaign, because you're doing that so as to generate demand for whatever product, whatever goods or services that you're providing, right? And then production operations now, production creates the product, right? Operations create the product, transforming the inputs into the output that you're going to be, that you have on offer, whether you're selling it as a good or you're providing a service. Now, finance, you have a finance and accounting area, right? And they track how well the organization is doing. So they deal with the paying of the bills and the collections of the money. All right. So the essential functions in any organization are these three: marketing, production or operations, and finance/accounting. You need to know this. I always put this on a test because it's important that you know the essential functions in producing any goods or service. You have your marketing, which creates your demand, your production, right, which creates the product, and your finance and accounting, which tracks the money. They pay the bills, they look at the receivables, and they collect the money, that kind of stuff, all right? So looking back at that from an organization, you guys know about what an organizational chart is, right? So let's look at, from a bank standpoint, those same three essential functions in that organization. If you're looking at a bank, a commercial bank, in terms of operations, finance, and marketing, which are the three essential areas, in a bank, operations going to deal with the scheduling of the tellers, what time they come in, what time they take a break, that kind of stuff, right? Operations going to deal with all of that. They deal with the clearing of the checks, the collections, the transactions, transactions processing, the facilities, the layout, the design of the bank, the vault operations, maintenance, security. So operations deal with all that. What's a bank you're talking about, right? And the finance area is going to deal with investments, investment section, securities, real estate, because you know in banks you have security, you can do securities, or you can do real estate, right? So they'll give you a mortgage if you need a mortgage, the banks will give you that. Finance area also deals with accounting and auditing. And auditing basically in any organization is just that they check all the processes to see that everything is fine. So so from a bank standpoint, they'll be checking on how much money is collected, making sure they see where the money went and that there's good governance and everything is going correctly. The marketing function now, they deal with loans. So they'll do advertisement about loans. As you see on your TV sometimes, you see NCB now, you see Sagicor advertising, NCB advertising, BNS advertising, and you see some financial institutions doing a lot of advertising, telling you how good their interest rate is, their mortgage rate, that kind of stuff. And they also deal trust. Like if you have a fund, setting up a trust fund for your family member, that kind of thing. So marketing does all of that. So these are the three essential areas, right, in any organization. So that's from a commercial bank standpoint. But they're in any organization, you're going to have the same three. Here again, if it's an airline you're talking about, operations going to deal with the ground support equipment, the maintenance, the facilities, maintenance, catering, right? Flight operations, crew scheduling, flying communications and dispatching, and the management, the management science in terms of managing the operations of the airline. Whereas the finance department now, they'll be dealing with the accounting. So they're looking at the payables. Anybody knows what payables are? Anybody? What are payables? No? Nobody know what payables are? So payables, go ahead, Shauna.
In the accounts department, payable deals with money going out.
Right.
To suppliers or employees or whoever it is.
Monies that you need to pay out, exactly. Receivables is monies that is outstanding for you to bring into the organization. Payables is monies that you need to pay out for services that were rendered, right? And there's general ledger, finance, you're talking about the cash control, and any international, because it's an airline, any international exchanges that need to be dealt in terms of exchange rates, because somebody might be paying their ticket in euros or might be paying their ticket in Canadian, so they need to look at the international exchange rate, right? And maybe they want to come basically against the US, right? So that's what that is. All right, and then we can move to the marketing side. And the marketing side of an airline, right? They're looking at traffic administration, the reservations, basically. That's marketing. Schedules, tariffs in terms of the pricing. They compare pricing for their airline versus another airline for the same flight. Sales and advertising. All right, sales and advertising. Give me a second here. Let me just click to the next slide. Look at another organization. We've got manufacturing now. Okay. Shauna, you were asking for a password. How did you get on now?
I use the WhatsApp from the computer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry, let me continue. All right, so for operations in manufacturing now, they deal with the facilities, the construction of the facility, the maintenance of the facility, production and inventory control in terms of scheduling, materials control, quality assurance and control, supply chain management, the actual manufacturing, tooling, fabrication, assembly, design, industrial engineering, process analysis. That's just the operations area. And in the finance area, they'll deal with disbursements and credits. Again, receivables, payables, general ledger, funds management. If they have to deal with the money market where they have to go and take out loans, and they'll deal with that. Again, international exchange, we spoke about that. And they might look at some capital requirements in terms of maybe they're putting themselves on the stock market, right? So stock issue, bond issue, and recall if they want to recall a certain amount of stocks. Because they have enough money basically so they can buy back some of those stocks or just recall them basically. And then the marketing is going to deal with sales and advertising and marketing research, that kind of thing. All right, so just so you remember that the three essential areas in any organization will be the will be the second. Yeah, will be the operations, finance, and marketing. Okay, so please remember the areas. Somebody's mic is muted and making a lot of noise.
Just for clarity, these are the essential areas of any organization.
Exactly. Even if it's not laid out to say it's called finance, but or accounting, it's done within that area. Three essential areas of organizations. They deal with operations, finance and accounting, sorry, and marketing. Three essential areas. All right.
It doesn't have to go in any particular order.
Order, no, not at all. Not at all. So why do we want to study operations management? So operations management is one of the three major functions, right? As we saw earlier, right? So that was the build up to this. So we want to study how people organize themselves for productive enterprises. We want and we need to know how goods and services are produced. And we want to understand what operations managers do. So that's why we're studying O&M. And O&M is such a costly part of an organization. We'll show you that your operations area is the most costly part of the organization. And we're going to show you that with an example. So we're looking at options, and this is the example. We're trying to look at options as to how you can increase your contribution basically for each of the three essential areas of the organization. So let's say currently now, just come with me here. Currently, right, we have sales, right, of $100,000. That's given. Sales of $100,000 currently. But the cost of goods is $80,000. Everybody know what cost of goods means?
The cost to produce it, sir.
Exactly. So the cost to produce this, what it costs you to produce this $100,000 in sales is 80,000. So your gross margin, and this is not an accounting class, I'm just trying to, show you this. Some of you hopefully will follow. Your cost of goods is 80,000. So your gross margin, right, is 20,000, right? That's your gross margin. But if you have a finance cost, your finance cost is if you took out a loan and all of that kind of stuff, right? Your finance cost, and this is just an example, it's let's say $6,000. So you subtract your finance cost from your gross margin, and you find that your subtotal comes to 14,000. But you have to pay taxes though, and your tax is going to be 25% of that 14,000, which is 3,500. When you subtract your tax, when you subtract your tax, make sure I put in this. Yeah, let me do this. Yeah, when you subtract your tax from that, which is a 3.5, the contribution basically, or the profit that you're making basically is 10,500. 10,500. So what we want to do over here now is to show you the importance of operations management. So we're going to look at marketing first, so marketing options. So let's say we increase sales, right, by 50%. Remember, your sales was 100,000. When you increase your sales by 50%, your sales going to go to 150,000, right? Yes? Everybody see that? Your sale, remember,
Yes,
said
sir.
was 100,000. You want to reduce now sales by 50%, a whole 50%. Your sales now go up to 150,000, and so you do that through your marketing, right? 150,000. But your cost of goods, right, is going to be the same ratio, right? Here it was 80. Now it's going to be 120, right? Your cost of goods is going to also going to go up when your sales go up, because you have to have more inputs, right, to produce the 150,000. So that, because this is also going to go up by 50%. Watch it. See 80. When you increase 80,000 by 50%, or say 1.5 times 80, you get 120,000, right? But seeing that? You're increasing your sales by 50%.
Yes, sir.
But when you increase your sales, you also have to increase your cost of goods, right? I'm getting some calls from someone here. I'm sorry. Right? So therefore, what's going to happen is that your gross margin is now going to be 30,000, right? And your finance cost is going to be the same 6,000. Let's just say it's the same 6,000, right? Because you had borrowed that money, you still 6,000 in finance cost. Your subtotal now is going to be 24,000. The taxes, right, is still 25%. So it's still 25% off your subtotal. So 25% of 24,000 is 6,000. Look at your profit. When you increase your sales by 50%, your profit is now 18,000. Everybody see that, right? Follow me now. In the finance, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Why didn't the finance go by the 50% also?
The finance cost. Maybe you took out one set of loan already, so that's not going to go up. All you're doing is increasing your marketing, right? So you didn't take out more money. It's the same amount of money that you had taken out, right?
Okay.
Right. So that's why. All right. It's a marketing. It's your marketing you use to increase your sales by 50%. Now look at this now. This is where you're going to have your finance costs going to be different now. So you're going to read. Let's finish up. So sales, 100,000. Forget about this now. We're going to move over to your finance and accounting area. Sales, 100,000. You're going to reduce your finance cost by 50%. So you're going to go in and you're going to renegotiate, and you're going to reduce it by 50%. But look what happens. Your cost of goods is same 8,000, right? See that? Your gross margin is same 20,000, and you've renegotiated, so your finance costs drop by 50%. See it here? Reduce finance costs by 50%, right? Because you don't want, the question asked me why this is the same. You don't want to be changing too many variables at the same time. So here, you increase your sales, right? Here, what you're doing, and everything else is almost the same. But if you increase sales, then you have to increase your cost of goods. So that's why that changed.
Okay,
Here,
so understand.
okay, good. Now you're reducing your finance costs. So you had 20,000 gross margin and you renegotiate your finance. So maybe you're stretching it out. Maybe you had 3 years and you tell them, all right, send it to 6 years. So you're paying less every period, so to speak. So it's cut in half to 3,000. So what happens now? Your sub total is now 17,000, but you still have to pay the same 25% on your taxes. So that same 25% of 17,000 is 4,250. Your contribution or your profit, 12,500. So you've reduced your finance area or finance cost by 50%. And look at it, your profit is only 12,500. Now, let's look at reducing your your production costs by just 20%. See, you've increased sales by 50%, you've reduced finance costs by 50%, and all I'm saying to you, look at what we're doing when we reduce our production costs by only 20%. Look what's going to happen. So your sales still 100,000, right? Your cost of goods, right, which is your production cost, is down 20%. So 20%, right, of 80,000, right, or 80% of 80,000, 8864 is 64,000. So you've reduced your cost of goods by 20%. Everybody see I get the 64,000 here? I'm not testing you on this. I'm just trying to show you, right? It's reduced by 20%. You're reducing 80,000 by 20%. Okay, so it's just 64% is your cost of goods now. Your gross margin now is now 36%. Your finance costs 6,000 there. Your subtotal 30,000, and you have to pay 25% on your subtotal or before tax, profit before tax, right? Which comes to 7,500. And you subtract that, look at your profit, higher than all the other two that we looked at. Just shows you the impact of operations. Reduced it by only 20%. And here we increase sales by 50% and decrease your finance cost by 50%. But your operations, your profit generated by reducing your operations by only 20% gave you much more profit. Understood? Yeah. You guys understand? We won't be giving you a problem on this, I just want you to understand.
Sir, so you're saying that the operations contribute to the larger profit?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And it's your largest cost, basically. Because remember, in operations, you have staff, paying staff, you're paying for the electricity, you're paying for raw materials, you know what I mean? So that's your largest cost. So if you can reduce your largest cost by even a small amount, you can make more profit in the organization. All right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, a second. All right, so now we're talking about what operations managers do, right? Basic functions. I mean, they deal with planning, right? They deal with organizing, they deal with staffing, they deal with leading. And by leading, we're talking leading a group of people. They're the leaders, so they're the supervisors, they're the managers, that kind of thing. And they are controlling, they control certain of the assets in the organization, right? So, a second, guys. Right. Yeah. All right. So we see they have a lot of functions in an organization.
Right, that's what I'm going to say. Like, for what I'm seeing so far, operations management or managers, they have a little of every department in the organization.
Yeah, in functions.
This year's
functions. Yes, functions.
Right. Functions.
Right. Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. Right. So, and even if you're in a service industry, if you're in a call center, there's operations in a call center, because you're gonna have to hire people. You're gonna have to, because maybe if you don't have an HR manager, the operations manager can deal with that, right? You have to plan to see who's gonna come on shift, who's gonna come off shift, that kind of thing. You have to organize. Okay, these set of people, this list of people going to deal with the credit card. These set of people going to deal with, I don't know, another institution, PLS. They're going to deal with Amazon calls, that kind of thing. If you know, or anybody knows how a call center works? Kinda, yes, no, no, okay, right? Because nowadays, most companies are outsourcing their customer service to call centers, basically. So you do your training, and they'll let you understand how credit card billing goes. They'll train you on Amazon if you have a problem, if you want to get back some money that you paid out, that kind of thing. They'll train you how to answer the call and deal with that kind of customer, right? Latoya, go ahead.
That's what they do. Sorry, I was saying that I think that what they do, because most companies, because they do outsourcing, they have like different contracts, different organizations.
Exactly.
Same have different departments. Some persons may do calls for NCB, customer service for NCB.
Exactly.
Some
Exactly.
may do Amazon, some may do, like, I think some do some kind of something you have to get commission based on sales or something like that.
They make calls and try and get sales. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's exactly it. So operations managers, I mean, there always need for operations managers in every sector, right? So it's not just manufacturing; it's also service industry. All right. Give me a second. Let me just tell this. All right. So we're gonna look at some of the decision areas in operations management. And these are the chapters that they cover, right? Design of goods and services, that's chapter 5. Managing quality is supplemental 6, but we've taken out managing quality out of the syllabus now. But we're going to look at process and capacity design, that's supplement 7. Location strategy, so you know what are some of the issues when you're looking to where you're going to locate your facility. Layout strategy, human resource and job design. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at supply chain management, but not here in this class because you have an entire course called supply chain. You guys might know about it, right? Inventory, MRP, just in time. We might touch a little on that, but not in detail, because when you go to, if you're going to advanced, then we're going to do detail on inventory and MRP, which is material resource planning. So we'll touch on that a little bit. JIT means just in time, just so you know. And we will touch on that in the body of some of the main headings or the main topics. Scheduling we're going to look at, and maintenance and reliability we're going to look at the end. Okay. So some of the critical decisions, design of goods and services. What goods or services should we offer? How should we design these products and services? Managing quality, right? Some of the things operation managers need to look at is, how do we define quality? Responsible for quality, right? In terms of process and capacity design, and we're going to go in detail with this one, is what process and what capacity will these products require? What equipment and technology is necessary for these processes, right? Operations managers get involved in these decisions also. Location, where we should put the facility. On what criteria should we base the location decision? We're going to look at that. This is a whole chapter by itself, these two, right? As we said. We're going to look at the layout strategy, as I said. How should we arrange the facility? How large must the facility be to meet our plan and our demand, that kind of thing. Human resource and job design. How do we provide a reasonable work environment? Right, we talk a little bit about ergonomics, that kind of stuff. You guys know the word ergonomics? Never heard of it? Ergonomics? Yes, no? No? We're gonna get to it.
Yes.
Oh, good. But we're gonna get to it some more. How much can we expect our employees to produce, right? So we look at productivity and that kind of stuff. Supply chain management. You need to be able to make the decision. Should we make something or should we just buy it, basically? You know what I mean? Maybe it's not one of our core competencies, and we're going to look into core competencies. What is core competence, that kind of thing. Who should be our suppliers and how we can integrate them in our strategy. Inventory, material requirement planning, and just-in-time inventory and just-in-time, purchasing. Here we're looking at how much inventory of each item should we have, and when do we reorder? Some of you who did decision science, you've done decision science already, right? Yes, no? No?
Not yet.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those of you who know it, you know, we have inventory where we do calculations as to say how much we should order, when we should order, that kind of stuff, which is your reorder point. Some of the critical decisions that you're going to have to make is immediate or short-term scheduling. You know, are we better off keeping people on payroll during slow time, right? Like now, COVID time, should you keep people on your payroll? How are you going to do that, right? But then again, you don't want to lay off some of these people, because if you lay them off, you're going to lose that skill. You have to go start retrain again. It will cost you for training. Some of these we're going to look at. So we'll look at some of those situations and decide what it is that we do. Which jobs do we perform next? And then maintenance, how do we build reliability in our processes? And who is responsible for maintenance, right? So all these are important issues that O&M specialists need to look at. And where are the O&M jobs? Everywhere, basically. Technology, facilities. It takes into consideration response time, people team development, customer service, quality, cost reduction, inventory reduction. It's everywhere you can think of, as we were saying earlier, right? Productivity improvement. It's one of your main issues, and we're going to be looking at that in detail with some calculations in terms of how you calculate productivity, that kind of thing. This just shows you some opportunities. You can be a plant manager, you can be operations analyst, a quality manager, supply chain manager and planner, process improvement consultant. I mean, the list goes on, and this just tells you some certifications that operations managers can also get. APIC, which is the American Production and Inventory Control Society, American Society for Quality, Institute of Supply Management, Project Management Institute, PMI, right? You see some designations behind your name if you get these. So you can be a PMI, which is Project Management Institute, Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply. I teach in this institute. By the way, we have this institute over at TIC. You guys are what, third year, second year, third year? Just thinking, anybody know, you guys know where TIC is?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah, well, TIC.
Yes, sir.
Okay, TIC is at
Is it Technological Institute of Charter? What is it?
No, TIC is over at, it's a building over at UTech.
Okay.
Where when you come in, instead of going around the roundabout, you make a left. It's right there. It's a Joan Duncan. Joan Duncan is the one who put up the money to build what's called TIC. Right?
What does the TIC stand for?
Technology Innovation Center.
Okay.
All right, just so you know. But I know COVID has kept people off campus. So, you know, depending on what year you're in, you've probably never even been on campus, you know. COVID gone, what, almost 2 years now? Wow. That's why I asked. Yeah. So I lecture SIPS in the SIPS program. I was actually the director of the SIPS program up until last year, December, right? I was a term position. So I was the director of the SIPS program, which we teach the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply, right? It's a UK-based organization, but it's well known around the world as a Chartered Institute. So it's well known. Once you get that, you're good. Anybody will hire you if you have the SIPS designation. It's expensive though. It's 5,000 US per course, so it's not cheap. But what happens is a lot of companies sponsor their people. So the Bank of Jamaica, Ministry of Finance, they sponsor their people to do the course. So that's that's an aside. It's personal. So the significance of O&M, as I said, is very important. But what we want to get into now is the heritage, right? The heritage of O&M. And I usually ask some questions on this because I think it's important that we know where we're coming from and who did what. So let me go back quickly. The ones that are important. Let's see if I get a good slide for you on this rather than.
I don't remember.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't remember if I saw this slide or movie. Is it there?
Yeah, man, it's there. Well, this
Okay.
whole there. I don't want to crowd you up with too much information. I just want to give you enough so you know some of the important persons who had contributions to to operations management, like Frederick Taylor, very important, right? He's known as the father of scientific management, right? He began the first motion and time study. I call it time and motion study. And I did a lot of time and motion study myself when I was at National Water Commission. Time and motion study basically, but we did for customer service. We were trying to improve our customer service. So we looked at how long it took from a person come into the office, right? We look at what they do. They join a line. How long do they spend in the line? How long do they take to get service? How long, when they're at service, how long it takes, that kind of thing before they leave. So you look at the total time spent and you say, you can set your objective and say, you don't want them to spend more than say 5 minutes in the office. So, you know, if they spend 3 minutes in the line, they can't spend more than another 2 minutes at the service counter, that kind of thing. Time and motion study. So you look at the motion, which is them joining the line and moving through the line to the service counter and then getting served, right? That's the motion. And you time all of the different segments of what they're doing. All right, so that's a time and motion study. It's mainly done by industrial engineers, I must tell you, right? But operations managers, you can do that. So yeah, so Frederick Taylor, what's important to know is he was known as the father of scientific measurement, and he began the first time and motion study. 1 hour gone already. Wow. Okay. And his principles, basically, Taylor's principle is that management should take more responsibility for matching employees to do the right job, providing proper training, providing proper work methods and tools, establishing legitimate incentives for work to be accomplished, right? Frank and Lillian Gilbreth, right? Their husband and wife engineering team, right? They further developed measurement methods. They applied scientific methods to their home and 12 children, all right? You don't have to go through all of that, right? Just that they're,
Sir,
yes, go ahead.
where am I? I think I heard this name already. I think it's in management.
Yes, you
Yes.
probably, yes. Yes, you probably would have. All right. Henry Ford, definitely. Everybody knows about Henry Ford, right? Ford car, right? So he created Ford Motor Company, right? Created the Ford Motor Company, and he did a lot of work in terms of how product moves along a conveyor belt, that kind of thing. So that's what you should remember about Ford. He created the Ford Motor Company. Okay. Edward Deming now, right, is an engineer and physicist. He's credited with teaching Japan quality control methods after World War II. It's a post-World War, first World War II is after World War II. He studied statistics to analyze process. His methods involve workers in decisions. As past or before him, they never used to involve workers. Supervisors and managers never used to involve workers in their decisions. But with Edward Deming, he involved workers in decision, which was a wise move because they're the workers. They know most of the intricacies of what needs to be done. Right. So Edward Deming. So basically, he had contributions from human factors, industrial engineering, management science, biological science, physical science, and information technology. All right. So some of the new challenges in operations management. So you're moving from certain things, you're moving from local or national focus to global focus. Now everything we're talking about is globalization, right? Not just a local. When I say local, we're saying not just Kingston or Jamaica, which is the national, but the world, basically, global focus. Moving from just batch shipment, right? So you take 10 widgets every time to just in time. Maybe you don't need 10, maybe you just need 7. So you only order 7 and the 7 must come at the time so you don't run out. But in Jamaica, because of where we're situated, we can't do just in time. We have to do something called just in case, right? So we have to keep large inventory over time. Okay. Before everything was low bid purchase. Now you look at supply chain partnering, right? You look at supply chain partnering. I always like to give the example of when I was at Cadbury's Chocolate, we used to make the chocolate that goes into chocolate chip. Everybody knows what chocolate chip is? What a chocolate chip is? A chocolate chip cookie. Seen a chocolate chip cookie? Right. So we at Cadbury's, we used to make the chocolate itself that goes on the cookie. And once a year, some of us would go to the plant that makes the cookie. Ask them if it's okay, if the chocolate's okay, if it's baking fine, any issues that they have. Because that's a supply chain, basically, right? Lengthy production development, now everything going fast, right? Everything moving fast. Production is quick now. And you have a lot of alliances, right? Standard products. Now we're talking about mass customization. And we're going to look at mass customization in a little bit more detail here. And job specialization. Now you have empowered teams, right? You have empowered employees and teams. So no more job specialization. You have job rotation and stuff like that. So that most people can do the job basically. So if one person is out sick, somebody just fill in, boom, you know. And people are empowered. Anybody can tell what empowerment is? Anybody? Anybody wants to take a crack? So I call empowerment freedom through control. So you allow persons to be able to make decisions, right? And some decisions are going to be wrong, but you can't penalize a man if you tell him he's empowered to make a decision. So that's part of what's called TQM or Total Quality Management. Everybody ever heard of that, TQM? Yes, no?
It's in quality management.
Right, exactly. There you go. All right. So now let's look at the characteristics of goods. Remember, we said we want to define what's a goods, what's a good, and what's a service, right? So let's look at the characteristics of goods. And you can see here, talking about an iron, camcorder or recorder vehicle, a plane, a television set, a computer. These are goods. These are tangible things, things you can touch, things you can feel, right? So some of the characteristics of goods is they're tangible. They're the consistent product definition. So if it's an iron, it's an iron, right? If it's a car, it's a car. So you consistently can define what the product is, right? Production usually, right, separate from consumption, right? So where you produce the item is separate and apart from where the item is, say, bought, right? Or where the item is used, okay? Production usually separated from consumption, right? And we're gonna see why that's important, because for service, the service is usually the same place as the consumption of the service, and we'll explain that later. So it can be inventoried, meaning you can put it in a warehouse and count how many of them you have in the warehouse. You can't do that for service, right? It's low customer interaction, basically. So you produce something, you sell it, you have nothing to do with it again. Somebody going retail it in their retail store, and them have to deal with the customer. So low customer interaction when you're producing a good, right? A service, these are important things, the difference between goods and services. So I'm emphasizing certain things so you'll know. Goods, services, they're intangible products, right? They're intangible. Basically, you can't really touch, feel, that kind of thing, the service, right? They're produced and consumed at the same time. They're often unique. There's high customer interaction with the service, right? So a dentist have high customer interaction with his patients, right? Inconsistent product definition. So some people might come for a root canal. Some people might come for a cleaning, you know. You might have a customer service agent who is on the road, or a couple of them. They might not be the same. One person might give good service, but they smile a lot. The next person, they give good service, but they don't really smile a lot, you know? So it's inconsistent product definition. And it's often knowledge-based, right? And we say frequently dispersed, so it can be dispersed over a number of areas, your service, right? So industry and service as a percentage of GDP. Yes, sir.
Sir?
I'm coming. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I was gonna say it looked like in every country manufacturing is lower, but I realize that it's higher in China.
Only in China. You pick up. Nice. So anybody knows what GDP means?
What's it stand?
Gross domestic product. Gross domestic product.
Exactly, gross domestic product, and it's a measure of how well a country is doing, basically. So you're correct. You're correct. Service is higher in almost all countries except for China, and that's why a lot of countries have come out of the manufacturing sector, because people, it's hard to compete against China. Remember, China have a large population, you know, so they can pay their persons less to produce products, right? So yes, that's what this is saying. So I'm glad you're looking ahead and looking at this. So that's what this is saying.
Sir, they proved how important they were when COVID just started.
Yes.
Important they were when COVID just started.
That's for sure. Right. So you see, service has a higher percentage in more countries. More people are involved in service than they are in manufacturing. I'll show you that slide also. So look at this. I can explain this one to you. So percentage of product that is a good, and percentage of project that is a service. So automobile, you're seeing almost 100%. That's a product, right? Almost 100%. Computer, almost 100%. Installing a carpet, again, close to 80-90%. Fast food meal is mainly about 70% of it is a product. The rest is service, because your waiter has to come take your order, that kind of thing, right? Hospital care, again, that's a lot of service. I mean, we talked about a dentist giving service, a doctor giving service. There's not a product there, right? But in advertising and investment management, close to 100%. Consulting service, teaching service, again, counseling service, more almost 100%, right? Let's look at what has happened over the years now with service versus manufacturing. Look at this, from 1950, right? And this goes up to 2010. Remember I tell you some of the data is dated. Manufacturing, right, has fallen off, whereas service has increased. Number of persons in employment. This is millions of persons employed in the service industry versus in the manufacturing industry. You can see it. It went up from 1950 to 1960, right? It leveled off in 1970, went up a little bit more in the 1980, and has fallen since then. And it's still falling, I can show you. Even though this only goes to 2010, it's probably fallen off even worse. Whereas the number of persons employed in the service industry, you can see it just kept going up, 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 almost exponentially. All right. Again, same type of graph here, telling you the same thing, right? We go back on that. Okay. Not sure you can see this clearly. I could escape and see if it shows you better. Right, you should see this better. All right, so now we're looking at the percentage here. The white is 1970. The blue dot, the white dot is 1970. The blue dot is 2010, right? And it's estimated. And we're talking about percentage, no, right? And we're talking about the different countries, right? As the development of service, of the service economy. Here you can see, I think this graph, this diagram is a little off. All right, let's look at the US, what they're saying in 1970. 1970 percentage in, no, I think this is off. I don't want to, no, forget about this diagram. Forget about this diagram. It's off somewhat. Listen. Put it back in here. It's off. Let me not touch it. It's off. Go back to mode. Whoops. Sorry about that. All right, so some of the challenges, the changing challenges that operations management is seeing. Your traditional approach was ethics and regulations were not at the forefront, right? No, it's at the forefront. You have to have high ethical and social responsibility. And we're going to look at a lot of that. Remember, this is just your first class. Increasing, and because of that is because of the increased legal and professional standards. The reason for the change is the public concern over pollution, corruption, and child labor, etc. Right? Before you never had all of this, all these groups, right, that were concerned about child labor, corruption, and pollution. One can argue that in Jamaica, we're not so concerned about corruption, right? But it's just what it is, right? And then we look at local or national focus. That's what it was traditionally. Now it's a global focus because of international collaborations, right, from different companies. Again, the reason, growth for reliability. You need to grow to be sustainable and to be reliable. You have low cost for communication and transportation. You can just pick up the phone, pick up the computer, and deal with anybody anywhere in the world, right? Usually you used to have lengthy production, product development. Now you have rapid product development, right? And people are collaborating in design. One time people used to hug up stuff. Now they leave it open. So, you know, information can be transferred from one era to the next. So you have shorter life cycles, growth of global communication, and CAD. Anybody knows what CAD is? It's computer aided designs, CAD, basically, and you have the internet. We're going to get into some of this a little later also. Again, some of the changes, you're moving from low cost production with little concern for the environment. You used to have free resources like air and water, and those were ignored. Now, right, the current challenges, you have to be environmentally friendly, right? Buzzwords now, you have to be environmentally friendly, you're environmentally sensitive for your production, your green manufacturing and sustainability. And the reason for that is now the public is now more sensitive to the environment. You hear every time you turn on your TV, you hear about global warming. People are more sensitive to that. So now you have standards, ISO 14,000 standard, ISO 9,000 standards, that kind of thing. And the increasing cost of non-compliance. If you don't comply with them, you can be fined, right? Plus there's increasing costs for disposal. Right, you have used to have low cost standardized products. Now, as we said, we're looking at mass customization, and we're going to get into that in detail when we look at processes, right? And you have rise of consumerism. Consumers know exactly what they want nowadays, yeah, you know, because of TV and cable and all of that. People know exactly what they want, and if you can't give them, then we'll go somewhere else. So you have to customize it for the person, but you're also making a whole lot of it. That's why it's called mass customization. Right? And more challenges that you have. Before, there was emphasis on specialized, often manual tasks. Now, as I say, employees are now empowered, and you have job enrichment, that kind of stuff, because of the recognition of employees' total contribution. People now realize that even the man on the line, he can contribute a whole lot to the organization. You used to have in-house production and low bid purchases. Now you have supply chain partnering, as I told you before, with my company, but Cadbury's that we used to do. They have joint ventures and alliances, right? So the reason for that change is rapid technological change, increased competitive forces, right? Before you used to have a large lot production, not anymore. Now it's just in time performance. You have lean companies. What's lean? Basically, I'm going to get into that some more, to meaning that you've taken out all the fat. So if you used to have 10 men on an assembly line and you can work with 8, those 2 men are gone. Not that they have to go out of the company, but you can reallocate them to somewhere else, right? Your lean manufacturing, that's what that is. And you know of continuous improvement, yeah? some of the new trends in O&M, and we're going to look at some of them: ethics, the global focus, environmentally sensitive production, rapid production development, mass customization, employees that we talked about, supply chain, and just-in-time performance. So we mentioned all of these before. The productivity challenge, right? Productivity challenge. So productivity is the ratio of outputs, and your outputs are basically the goods and services that you're supplying, divided by the inputs, right? And those are going to be your resources such as your labor and capital, right? So the objective is to improve productivity. You always want to improve productivity, because once you can improve productivity, the cost per unit that you're producing is going to be less because you're producing more, because you've improved your productivity. So the difference between productivity and production, now, production is a measure of your output only. It's just output. So if you're making widgets, it's just output is 10 widgets. It's not a measure of your efficiency, right? Your productivity would be 10 widgets per hour, 10 widgets per second, that kind of thing, at a particular rate, right? So productivity is your production per rate, whereas your production is just a measure of you've produced, right? We're going to get into that a little bit more, because this is where calculations start. Let's not touch that. This is just showing you your inputs are labor, capital management, and your outputs are goods and services. So this just shows you the US economic system transforms input to output at about an annual 2.5% increase in productivity per year. Productivity increases as a result of a mix of capital, so that's 38% of the 2.5, labor, right, which is 10% of the 2.5 increase in productivity, and look at management. Management, 52% of that 2.5% increase in productivity. You got that, guys? It's just showing you that the management contributes more to the increase in productivity. And this is taken at a particular time in the US, right? But I think it holds true even, I mean, it's timeless basically, right? So your capital gain the 38% of your increase in productivity, your labor 10% of the increase in productivity, and your management is a whopping 52%, or contributes a whopping 52% of the increase in productivity. All right, let's look at something where Starbucks, how they've improved productivity and what are the implications from this improvement. So Starbucks, right? A team of, you better know Starbucks now, right? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we have Starbucks here now. So a team of 10 analysts continually look for ways to shave off time for service, right? And some of the improvements were, they stopped requiring signatures on credit card purchases under $25. You guys don't know about that, because this day and age, nobody requires signatures anymore. But back in the day, they used to have a credit card machine where they would put a paper in it, and then, run it back and forth over your card, and then you would sign to say that it was you. That doesn't happen anymore. So back in the day, they shaved off 8 seconds, right?
But some places though, when you run your credit card, they ask you to sign in.
Oh yes, so then yes, some places still do. But back in the day, you had to do that. You had to sign your credit card slip. So they shave off 8 seconds per transaction, right? Because they'd say, all right, if your purchase is under $25, you don't have to sign. So them shave off 8 seconds per transaction because of doing that.
Sir,
Right.
what I noticed, sir, in my I went to KFC and it was a chip card, and all they do is just tap it and everything was okay.
Yeah, man.
No request, nothing.
No
They
verification.
just tap it.
Yeah. Because what happens is, sometimes your credit card will send you a message. Did you purchase so and so? If you did, you don't have to even acknowledge nothing. But if you didn't, then you can say something to them. Yeah, man, they're shaving off a lot of time off transactions now, making everything more efficient these days. Look at what they also did. They changed the size of the ice scoop. But you know, latte or some of them coffee drinks, right? They use ice in it, right? Crushed ice and all them things, right? You guys might be aware of them. So what they do, they change the size of the ice scoop, right? So maybe the scoop was too small. They probably make the scoop much bigger now, and that saved 14 seconds per drink. So instead of scooping down twice for ice, they probably just scoop down one time. You understand what I'm saying? Because I made the scoop bigger. This saved 14 seconds per drink, right? And these operations people do these things, or come up with these ideas. Another one, them get a new espresso machine that saved 12 seconds per shot, espresso shot, right? So these are all times that they're saving in their production lines. So those operations improvement, have helped Starbucks increase yearly revenue per outlet by $200,000 to $946,000 in 6 years, right? Productivity has improved by 27%, or about 4.5% per year, just by doing those little things, right? So you can see, if you want to ask for a bonus after doing all of that, you're welcome. You don't think the manager would mind giving you a bonus, right? Because you came up with all those ideas. All right, now we're now looking at calculations, right? And I'm just going to introduce you some calculations and ask you to look at the tutorial for next class, right? So productivity, right? This is the formula. Productivity is equal to units produced, right, over inputs used. That's a formula for productivity, right? Output over input, basically. So the measure of process improvement represents output relative to your input, because that's your output here. Outputs, units produced over inputs. And only through productivity increases can our standard of living improve. Here are some calculations now. And for my tests, I usually give both calculations as well as qualitative stuff. But the calculations problems carry the bigger weights. Just letting you know. All right. So here we go. They're giving you this. They're telling you that the units produced was 1,000 and the number of labor hours used was 250. Therefore, your productivity is 1,000 units divided by 250 hours. So that gives you 4 units per labor hour or per hour, right? Everybody see that? And this is called a single factor productivity method, because you're only one factor you're looking at, which is labor hours. So it's always units produced or output over input. So the input here is just one factor you're looking at. That's why it's called single factor productivity. Everybody get that? Yes, no? Productivity is output over input. See it? Output, units produced over input, which is your labor hours. So they gave you this, that your output was 1,000 units, and that took you 250 labor hours. Therefore, your productivity is 1,000 over 250, which is 4 units per labor hour. And it is called a single factor productivity because you're only using one resource input. And we're going to show you the multi-factor productivity where you're using more than one input. All right. So let's press on. Nobody's telling me they don't understand, so I'm assuming everybody understands. Here now, we look at what's called a multi-factor productivity, right? Here, productivity is always equal to output, but now it's output over a number of inputs. And the thing with the multiple factor is that you want to bring everything to dollars, and everything can be brought to dollars. You can know how much money it costs you for your labor. You can know how much money it costs you for your material. You can know how much money it costs you for your energy bill, how much you pay JPS for the month. You can know how much capital you invested in it, right? To buy raw material and to buy equipment and miscellaneous. So what it is, in the multi-factor productivity, you always have your inputs in dollars. It's easier. Well, it's the universal way of doing it.
This is not a standard input. It can be any form of input given.
Any input, but you bring it to dollars because there's multiple. And remember, you want to compare apples with apples. So you want to compare how much it costs you for labor, how much it costs you for material. So it's your total input in terms of dollars. But you're looking at multiple factors that went in. So you look at your labor, your material, your JPS bill, energy, your capital costs, what money you take out of your bank to put into it, or any other miscellaneous, but you bring it to dollars. All right, got that? Whereas the one before is just labor hours you were looking at. Got that? See, the one before was just labor hours. See, just labor hours. Whereas this one, multi-factor, is a number of other inputs, but you bring everything in terms of dollars. So this is also known as the total factor productivity. And as I said, the inputs are often expressed in dollars. All right. Let's look at a company now. They do title search. Title search. So if you want to get a title, you go to them and then we find the title for a property for you, right? So let's look at productivity, increase or decrease. So when they had the old system, right? This is in your text also, eh? They had a staff of 4, right? Staff of 4 work 8 hours a day, right? And they could find 8 titles a day, right? Their payroll cost was $640 per day. Their overhead cost was $400 per day. You can find the single factor productivity by what is their output? 8 titles per day. 8 titles per day. But how many hours a day they worked? 32 hours, which is 4 staff times 8 hours a day. So it's 32 labor hours they worked in a day. You see that? Are you seeing this, guys? This is the basis now for all staff starting to do calculations now, right? So that their old productivity was 0.25 titles per labor hour. Anybody don't understand, feel free to say it, right? You're given this information and you're finding productivity here. And this is a single factor productivity that you found here, right? Under the new system now, right? Under the new system, right? They can now do 14 titles per day, right? Maybe them get computers and, you know, have to spend more on energy because them overhead gone up to $800 a day. So the new productivity is now the 14 titles that they can do per day, not 8 anymore. They're bringing a new system where them can know the 14 titles per day, right? But them labor is the same, labor hours, because maybe them using technology now to find the titles faster. So them still keep the 4 workers working 8 hours a day. So it's still 32 labor hours. You see that? And so their new productivity or new labor productivity is now 0.43 titles per labor hour. Before it was 0.25, but gone up to 0.43.
So
okay, they're doing more titles per day. Go ahead. What
I kind of realized, for the single factor, it's always hours, days, units. Exactly. However, for the multi, it's the dollars.
Yeah.
That's so it always. So it will not give you in the scenario or in whatever is given. It will not tell you whether it be single or multi, but it will tell you it in the hours or in the dollar figure. That's how you'd realize.
Yes, for the most part, yes. And the tutorials are going to test your knowledge and bring you and give you more examples. So yes, you're correct. All right. But there's more examples. Let's look at this now. We're going to do some multi-factor now. So for the old system, right? For the old system, is everything's the same. For the new system, it's still the same. But look at how the multi-factor now. Watch this. You're still doing 8 titles. We're doing an old multi-factor productivities. 8 titles, the whole system. But look at your denominator now. Look at your input.
I was wondering why you never paid any mind around there, you know.
Right, because it was just single factor. Remember I say it was single factor, but now we're looking at multi-factor. Remember I tell you it's dollars. So you're bringing the dollars now for your multi-factor, which you have 2 things, your payroll costs as well as your overhead costs. So there you go, right? And that gives you 0.0077 titles per dollar, right? Because you're doing 8 titles per day, but you're also spending, what's this, $1,040 per day to get the 8 titles. So for every title, it's costing you 0.007 titles per dollar. Sorry. For every dollar, you're producing, what's that? Sorry, 0.0077 titles for every dollar that you spend. Yeah, same thing. Sorry. And so now the new multi-factor productivity is now going to be same 14 titles, because now is 14 titles that you're producing, more than the 8, right? But look at your cost. Your labor cost is the same, $640 per day, but your overhead has now gone up to 800. So it's 14 divided by 640 plus 800, okay? And so it's now 0.0097 titles per dollar. Sorry. Right. Come on. All right. Let's see where I'm at. 62 of 73. All right, let's press on, and then I'm going to give you some formulas that's not in the slide. I'm going to give you. I was looking for it, I couldn't find it, but let's press on. Okay. So some problems that you have, some measurement problems is 1, the quality may change in terms of productivity. The quality may change while the quantity of inputs and outputs remain the same, right? Now, if you look at example, and I put this here, the color TV, right? We're moving from black and white. So you might be producing the same amount of color TV as you were with black and white TV, but your quality has gone up tremendously because you're moving from black and white TV to color TV, even though you're producing the same, right? So the measurement can be, how do you say now, can be misleading. So you used to make 10 TVs a day, black and white TV a day, but now you're making 10 color TVs per day. But what has more quality? What has more value? The color TV, of course. So even though it's 10, you were making 10 TVs, you were making, and you're still making 10 TVs, but your quality has gone up, and probably and now your profit has also gone up, right? Because you're getting more for a color TV. So you have some external elements that may cause an increase or decrease in productivity, like reliable electricity, right? In the past, let's say say you used to make a certain amount of widgets, and now you're making let's see, more or less widgets. But what has happened is you were oh yeah, the JPS was the reason why you were only making, say, 10 widgets. Now you're making 20 widgets. But because of the JPS unreliability, which you guys don't know anything about that, but back in the day, JPS used to just go off for half a day sometimes, mess up your productivity, right? So you could only make 10 widgets. Now you're making 20 widgets. It's not because your productivity has gone up, it's because now you have more reliable power supply, right? You understand? You understand that, guys, what I just said in terms of external element? Why it can be deceiving in terms of your numbers sometimes.
Yes, sir.
Right? And the precise unit of measure might not be correct or is lacking. Okay, productivity variables. All right, so productivity, so labor contributes 10%, as we saw in that slide about 10 slides before. Capital was 38%, and we said management was 52, if I recall. Yeah, there you go. So that's just that, right? That we had looked at earlier. So key variables for improved labor productivity. Basic education, appropriate for the labor force. So you want to make sure that you have the basic education in your labor force. The diet of your labor force, believe it or not, which contribute to the healthiness of your labor force. The social overhead that makes your labor available. So your transportation, so in the States, you know, there's trains, rapid trains that get you from one point to the next. That improves your productivity because you're not spending 2 hours to get from Linstead to UTEC, moving from one taxi to the next, you know, that kind of thing. So your social overhead that makes your labor more available. Challenges in maintaining and enhancing skill in the midst of rapidly changing technology and knowledge. I won't get into that too much. Investment in productivity. What we're saying is, as your investment increase, your productivity will also increase because you're buying new equipment and all of that. So look at it, percent increase in productivity on your y-axis and percent investment. What we're saying, as you increase your investment, right, you're increasing investment, your productivity should also increase. That goes without saying. Let's look at service productivity. It's typically labor intensive, right? Like a call center. Frequently focused on unique individual attributes or desires. So it's basically what one customer wants, you design your service for that. So if it's a call center, for example, one customer might be calling about a bill, one might be calling about a return, that kind of thing. And you tailor make your service to suit those needs. Frequently focus on unique individual attributes or desires, as we just said. Often an intellectual task is performed by professionals. So if you look at your doctor or your dentist, often difficult to mechanize. So you can't put a robot to deal with it. Can't put a robot to deal with it, basically. Have you guys ever seen a robot in action? No? So I've seen a couple of robots. When I first saw a robot, I couldn't believe it. It was in Japan. Went to this plant and saw a robot assembling things. It was unique. No, it's not unique anymore. You have robots everywhere. I remember I went to Vegas about 3 years ago, and there is this bar, and it's a robot that was making the drinks, believe it or not. You just key in what drink you want. So if you want, say, what is it now? Say you want a rum and coke, you just key in, say your cola rum and coke to say item 2. You just key in 2 on a dashboard, and you see the robot taking up the rum, pouring it, they know how much to pour, and the coke, know how much to pour, put in the ice, and run it on a conveyor belt, right? Yes.
Oh, what if these?
Go ahead.
Does these robots have special feature? Because sometimes they want to change up what is on the menu. They are programmed to do what is on the menu.
Right. So
do they have that special feature to say, I want to add something or I want to take something from it?
You could. All you'd have to do, say you want no tomatoes, you'd probably key in no tomatoes if it's a burger, something like that. There's another button to touch at the end where no ketchup, no mayonnaise, no tomato, no lettuce. You could program it to do that. You could program the computer for that. But you have to
Okay.
program it first, right? You have to program it first. Look at some improvements at Taco Bell. They revised the menu. They designed meals for easy preparation, shifted some preparation to suppliers, right? Efficient layout and automation, training and employee empowerment, new water and energy saving grills. And look at what this did. The results are the preparation time was cut to 8 seconds. I don't know what it was before, but it's cut to 8 seconds. Management span of control increase from 5 to 30, increased store. Sorry. Going through a lot of this real fast. I'll tell you when I need specific stuff for the calculations and stuff, just to show you some of the things that operations can do. The store handled twice the volume with half the labor, right? Wow. They conserved 300 million gallons of water and 200 million kilowatts of energy each year, saving 17 million annually. Operations do all of that again. Let me see. I want to see if I can set you guys up with some problems to work. If you got nobody has class after this, so yeah. Ethics and social responsibility, challenges facing operations manager. They need developing and producing safe quality products, right? Maintaining a clean environment, providing safe workplace, and honoring their stakeholders' commitment, right? That's the end. Let me see. All right, that did that. All right, now guys, this is important now because this is some of the stuff you're gonna need for doing the tutorial, okay? So let me make this bigger, screenshot it if you want. I'm not sure if this is in the slides that was there before, so I'm not gonna tell you it's there. It could be there, hopefully it's there. Hopefully it's there. So we're looking at, you know how to calculate productivity already. You know the single factor and the multi-factor, right? But now, sometimes you're asked to calculate change in productivity and as well as percentage change in productivity. So your change in productivity is basically P2 minus P1, right? Where P2 is the new productivity and P1 is the old productivity, right? So you can calculate your change in productivity. Now, change in productivity can be positive or negative, just so you know, okay? Now, your percentage change measures the change in productivity from one period to the next. Percentage change in productivity is equal to the present productivity or the new productivity over the old productivity or past productivity minus 1. And because it's percentage times 100. Make sure you have this, guys. Important. Oops. Oops. All right. You guys have that?
Yes, sir.
Got this slide. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. Okay. What else do I have on this? Do I have anything else? No, that's it. So that's it. I'm wondering if I have the, okay, on what you need to do for your tutorial, question 1.1, take this down, question 1.1 to 1.8. Run that in your tutorial. I'll also send you some supplemental problems to work out also for your tutorial. But for now, work question, do I need to write it?
1.1 to 1.8.
Right. Boy. Sorry. All right, is question 1.1 to question 1.8 in your text, all right? I'll try and send you something else with other problems, but work these out. So that next class we can take up these calculations. This is important that you work these because, as I said, in test number 1, we're going to be having a lot of productivity questions, and it's important that you know how to work these out. Let me see if I can find the supplemental questions now also. Let's see if I can find them because your Moodle is down anyways, so I'm just gonna have to see if I can find it here. Let's see if I can find it. I found a tutorial sheet. Is this it? Right. I found the tutorial sheet, so I'm going to send it to you. I don't have your email address. What I have is the WhatsApp.
So I can
So
post it in the WhatsApp group.
right.
Send it in the WhatsApp group.
Yes,
Sir.
sir.
All right. We are intro to POM Thursday 7. Because I'm on Zoom, it takes a while. Something came? I hope it didn't. No. Gosh, sent you the wrong document, maybe. Okay, good. All right, there's your tutorial sheet, guys. Now you have all the problems that you need. So I put also there you go. Are you guys seeing in the WhatsApp?
Yes, sir. I see the document.
All right. right, and as well as, so the two greens, well, I'm seeing green, sorry. There's a document as well as the text. Everybody has a text, so you have enough problems to work on. And so the next class, when we come, all we're doing is looking at these problems. Very important that you try the questions before we come to class next, all right? That ends our class today, guys. I think we did a whole lot today. It's just for you know to just work these problems and we're good. All right. So are you seeing, what are you seeing on the screen now?
A blank screen.
All right, no problem. Let me quickly do a share screen. Share screen is stop share. Let me share screen. Simplest question. Ah, no, that's not it. All right, you're seeing the problem now?
Yes, sir.
Right, so this is what I sent you. So Joanna has a part-time cottage industry, producing seasonal wood ply yard ornaments for resale at a local craft fair and bazaar. She currently works 8 hours per day to produce 16 ornaments. What is her productivity? Right, that's easy enough, right? She thinks by redesigning the ornaments and switching from use of wood glue to a hot glue gun, she can increase her total production to 20 ornaments per day. What is her new productivity? And what is her percentage increase in productivity? Simple. All right, guys, so work those out. As well as the ones that I showed. Oh, don't work, you don't have to work the learning curve one, because we're not there yet. Question 4. So 1, 2, 3 is what you work. And then after next week, we can do 3, 4, and 5. But you can do 6. No, it's learning curve. Yeah, that's it. Right.
Okay, so question 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Plus the questions from the text. The question from the text is also good. Make sure you work the questions from the text. All right.
So do 1, 2, 3 plus the question from the text, which is 1.1 to 1.8.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, I think you should have put questions 1, 2, 3 from this also, sir, in the group. The persons can know. Because I was looking for the 1 to 1.8 and I didn't see.
Huh?
When I just got this document, I was looking for the 1 to 1.1 to 1.8 and I didn't see it.
Oh, this is your textbook.
So just for clarity, you can tell them.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, let me do this then. I'll go on my phone. All right, so POM. Tutorial sheet. 1, 2, 3, right? Got that? And the other one is from your text. You guys comfortable with that now? You guys comfortable with that? You're seeing your...
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Okay, good. All right, so have a good night, and we'll link up back next week, Thursday, same time. All right?
All right, take care.
Good night.
All right, good night.